Hello, and welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast with your host, peak performance coach, Brian Bosley. Are you stuck on the hamster wheel of life, spinning and spinning, but not really moving forward? Are you ready to jump off and soar? Are you finally ready to sculpt your life? If so, you've landed in the right place. This podcast is created and broadcast just for you. All of you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to learn more about Brian and the Bamboo Lab, feel free to reach out to explore your true peak level at www.bamboolab3.com.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Bamboo Lab podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Bosley. Several years ago, I had the privilege and honor to work alongside of a specific financial planning team out of Kingston, Washington. And we worked together alongside of each other for a number of years. And I got to know each and every one of these individuals very, very well. Probably in my 29 years of coaching, have never been more impressed by a team of individuals coming together as a cohesive unit and a team. So today I brought on a friend of mine over the past several years. He is the managing director of the Latitude 48 group. His name is Clint Boxman. My friend Clint, welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Thanks, Brian.
You are welcome.
Good to be here.
That's awesome. Do you remember when you guys bought me that picture of the Great Lakes?
Yeah.
I think, and I know when I moved into this new office space in Wisconsin a couple of months ago, I put that right above my desk. So literally I'm looking at it right now. And I think I sent the picture to all you guys. It never really had a great place to hang it. I moved around so much in the last 4 or 5 years. And was never at my house. So now I have a prominent place. It's just got a bunch of sticky notes, though, Clint. So it's almost all covered up with sticky notes of quotes that I've heard or questions I should ask clients. But it's the prominent display in the center of my office. So thank you for that, brother.
Nobody needs to see the Great Lakes. It's all good.
I love it.
You know they're there.
I love it because I can see exactly how far away my mom is, how far away my kids are. I can actually have a visualization of how far away they are. So
that's pretty cool.
It is. Well, great. Obviously, Clint, I've gotten to know you so well over the years. I don't know how many countless hours we have spent talking over the years, but the Bamboo Pack, the audience out there, for their benefit, can you share a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family, your childhood, who or what inspired you?
Sure. Yeah. Born and raised in Washington. So born in Seattle. I'm the oldest of 3 kids. I have 2 younger sisters. I grew up in Snohomish, not far away, a little town north of Seattle. It's kind of a farming community. Some people say it's the antique capital of Washington. Maybe it's the U.S. now. I don't know. Kind of sleepy town that's kind of ballooned and blossomed into a wonderful place. I miss living there. Mom was a school teacher, elementary. She mostly did 4th, 5th, 6th grade, or sometimes a split class. Dad was a sales manager for a trucking company. They dealt with mostly state transportation of city of transportation, like basically take a chassis off a truck and build to fit what their needs were, like a dump truck, a crane, a snowplow, that kind of stuff. So that's a little bit about family. I'm a dad of 2 kids. I've got an 11-year-old Audrey daughter, and then a son Landon, who's coming up on 15. Feels like yesterday when we had him. Wife Megan, and live here in Kingston.
That's amazing. I can't imagine. I can't believe you have a teenager, almost 2 teenagers. In a couple of years, you can say you have 2 of them.
I know. It goes by fast. The good thing is that they age and we don't. So that's the benefit of having kids.
That is true. Clint, when did we start? When did I meet you? Like, how many years ago? Was that before COVID?
That was pre-COVID.
I thought so.
I want to say it was 2018 or 2019.
Holy cow.
I think is when we started working together, and then active coaching sessions and stuff heading into COVID and well past COVID. And then, so it's been a minute.
It has been. Fast. Yeah, that's great. And the funny thing is we've never met face to face.
I know. We need to do that.
I know we do. I have so many people out in Washington that I want to see, and it's one of my favorite states of all time. I love Oregon, and I love Washington. So I'm going to get out there someday. I've met a lot of people from the podcast. Literally, this is my second podcast of today, and the first gentleman was from Washington as well. I shared that earlier with you.
Oh,
so it's
interesting.
2 in 1 day from Washington.
Nice.
So,
nice.
So you came from. So your town. How many people were in your hometown growing up, Clint?
Oh, I don't know. It was thousands, like probably tens of thousands. Now it's probably closer to 50 or 60,000. So it's a much bigger town. In fact, the county is named after the town. So it was a pretty prominent area, Snohomish County. So,
but
fairly
still,
big.
Nothing like Seattle.
No.
It's just amazing. And I know my guests get tired of me saying this, but I say it so often because it comes up so often. How many people I've met, or I've met you obviously prior, but how many people I've talked with on this show who are from towns, not massive cities, that are successful. And I would say, honestly, more than that. I bet 10% of the people I've spoken with who are highly successful in life came from a city. I bet 90% came from, somewhere between 50 and below. Some people, I had one lady who had, I think, 3 in her graduating class. 3 to 4, something really small like that. I mean, I had 75 and I was in a small town, but it's just amazing. I never would have thought that, Clint. I would have thought, you're getting these successful people in the world of finance or whatever the trade is, that they're coming from these massive cities. They're not. It's just not where they breed success. And I don't know what it is. I think there's a community sense of, when you grow up in a smaller community, maybe a blue collar family, you work harder. You also meet more people when you're in a small, because so many people when you're in a small community, you have to get along.
Yeah.
Can't hide.
No, that's very true. It's hard to hide.
It is. Yeah. Like Seattle, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Atlanta, those places, you can just hide and be kind of anonymous and just stick with your one little niche group.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's very true. You have to make it work.
Now, I know you as one of the hardest working men in the industry. So I got to ask you, what was that inspired you, or who inspired you growing up to become the person you are today?
There's probably a lot of layers to that. So I think initially, first, blush, I'm a big sports guy, so I have to go immediately to sports. And being in Seattle, the drive that I think I got was through sports and just trying to always be better. And I loved Ken Griffey Jr. growing up. Just loved watching him. And basketball is also a big passion of mine. And Michael Jordan was an easy one to want to emulate, be like Mike. But knowing full well how hard they worked to get to that level, I think that was an indirect inspiration that I had. When I was young, my parents didn't have hardly any money. And when I was, I think, around 13, I actually started my own landscaping business. And I went door to door, asking if I could do some random jobs for people, mowing lawns, weeding, clearing blackberry bushes, all that. And then that eventually snowballed into, getting more lawns and other things. And then it was babysitting, and then it was dog walking and such. And so I eventually had more money in the bank than my parents did. And that eventually later on in life helped me pay for college, buy my own car, pay for my insurance, gas money, all that kind of stuff. But the thing that kind of molded me more was my dad's boss. He was a high school dropout, but self-made millionaire. And he kind of inspired me to start investing. And my dad said, you got to talk to him about what to do with your money. It's doing no good sitting in the bank. I don't know what you should do. Just go have lunch with him. And so I had lunch with him. I was a teenager at the time, and he kind of taught me about, how to manage your money and what you should do with your excess cash. And he talked about investing in real estate. That was his big thing. But he also, talked about investing in companies like stocks. Again, this is the 90s, so let's not confuse brains with a bull market. But, I started investing in, as a Seattle guy, of course, you got to buy Microsoft because that was the thing everybody did. Again, a sports guy, I bought Nike stock because basically everybody wore some type of Nike gear, whether it was baseball or basketball or soccer or whatever. And then we used to shop a lot at Walmart. So I bought Walmart stock because, well, shoot, there's long lines. I was very impatient waiting in these lines. They got to be making money. And then the other one I bought was Pfizer, and that was because when I went to Grandma's house, she always had all these drugs in the in the file cabinet. There's plenty of grandmas out there, and that kind of obviously did really well in the '90s, and so that kind of helped shape some of my love, passion for investing and knowledge for investing, and obviously now a career path, which I kind of stumbled into way decades later, but. That has to be sort of an inspiration of sorts. And then I think the only other one that I put out there would be either my grandfather. We called him Grandpa Bang. He was active in Rotary. He was so influential in his town in Illinois. It's in the Quad Cities, Moline and Rock Island, Illinois. He had a key to 4 different cities. And he was a major influence on just making life better in that town or those towns. And now they're just big cities. And I think the other person would be my track coach, Mr. Janae Tuck. He had a saying, leave it nicer than you found it. And I was a TA for him in high school. He had kind of this new idea of like a civics class, a life class, if you will. And he was somebody that kind of taught me about how to get a credit card and establish credit, and how to balance a checkbook, and why should you buy a home when you first get started in life. And he also kind of helped shape my life and love for and knowledge for investing and career path, and kind of helped make me who I am. So I'd say that those would probably be the best inspirations that I had growing up, and the rationale as to why.
Wow. That's a lot of powerful people. I mean, I like the first, what is it? Leave it nicer than you found it. It's kind of like it's like the doctor's Hippocratic oath. First of all, do no harm. First, do no harm.
Yeah. He used to. I can still hear his voice now, like on the bus. Get back out there. Let's leave it nicer than we found it. Like after we're leaving a track meet, and the stadium, we were the team that had to stay back and clean up the bleachers and around the stadium just to make it nicer before we could leave. So we hated him for it. But now when you think back to all those great teachings that he left, it made a pretty big impact on me.
Well, you get to a point in life too. Clint, I know I'm older than you, but not a whole lot, I guess, probably 10 years. I'm 58. What are you?
Almost 45.
Okay. So I'm 13 years older than you, almost 14. Where it becomes more about what you're going to leave as a legacy. You can go for the success, you can go for the accolades, you can go for money, you can go for production, you can go for trophies and titles. And at a certain point, especially when you have kids and then grandkids down the road, it's more about, how am I leaving this place? Am I leaving it better? Am I leaving it nicer than I found it? Like your grandpa would say. I think that's or your track coach, I'm sorry. That's such a powerful way to live life.
Yep.
Now, you've been in the industry now almost 20 years, haven't you?
Correct. Yeah.
That's a journey, man. That's a journey. Now,
yesterday.
It's amazing because in the last, I would say, month, I've been in contact, Clint, with maybe 5 or 6 people that I met my first couple of years in the industry. So 34 years, 96, 91. So 34 years ago. Some of the guys, I was their first training manager. So back in the day when you had training managers and district managers and field vice presidents, maybe they still do, I don't know. But I was 3 or 4 of these guys. I was their training manager, and we just been in contact, just literally, some of it coincidentally, but 4 or 5, I think 5 people total from my past, and we're talking, and I'm like, can you believe it was 33 years ago I was your training manager, or 31 years ago I was a co-manager with a gentleman by the name of Will Lee in the Ann Arbor, Michigan American Express office. I don't know where that time went. It was almost like I went through a time portal, and I woke up 5 years later and 30 years has passed.
Yeah.
The industry of finance is, I think, one of the more challenging ones for people. So I think when you really dig into it and you have such a passion for serving other people as you guys do at Latitude 48, you have such a passion for serving your clients and community, and you're working hard so long, especially those first decade or two. But when you're doing that and you're doing something you have a true, genuine love for, time is going to pass because you get into that zone kind of, where it just time kind of flies by. If you had a job where you hated and you did it for 19, 20 years, I bet it would feel like it was 40 years.
You know? I believe it. I believe it now.
Yeah. The first few years were out with challenge. I was talking to somebody, I don't know, one of these gentlemen 3 weeks ago, and I said, they said to me, actually, we had a conversation on it. The stuff we went through that first year as a financial advisor out of college, I hated every single minute of it. But I look back now, and that first year especially, if I had not gone through that, I would not be the person I am today as a professional as well as in my personal life. And then I start to kind of feel sorry for some of those people who didn't have to do the things that we had to do 2 decades ago or 3 decades ago coming into the industry. It seemed like it was more difficult then. I don't know. Maybe I was just younger. It seems like there's an easier path to success today than there was when you started or when I started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Knocked on doors, door-to-door sales.
Yeah. It was. Here's a phone book, here's a script, and here's a phone.
Yeah.
Start calling.
Yeah.
Oh,
good luck.
Yeah. Right.
No internet. No. Yeah.
I remember a time, Clint, this is how much people hated the cold calls. Is I was in Madison or Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm not sure. And I was coaching, it wasn't American Express or it was before it was Ameriprise, I think. I was coaching like 10 of their people on marketing, in sales and calls and phone calls. And I was in this room, like a bullpen, where these people were calling, and there was a particular person, he's no longer with the company, and he was the head of the office, and he did not want me there. The vice president, RVP or GVP hired me. This gentleman, FVP, I forget his name. I think he could have been district manager. I don't know. I forget his name. He did not want me there. He was I was stepping on toes. And he said, see, look how great my people are calling. They're on the phone. It was like 5:00 at night or 5:30. And I was just observing, taking notes, walking around, listening to people call. And I said, well, what about this lady over here? There was a young lady, probably 25, 24, and she was over there just talking on the phone, she was setting appointments and just like she was having long conversations with these prospects. And he said, yeah. I said, why? She said, why is she in your group? She sets her appointments every week. And I said, well, how many clients does she have? And he said, it was some small number. So she was setting her 12 appointments a week, but she wasn't getting a lot of clients. So I went over there to observe her, to take notes, like she's doing it. They must not be showing up, or if when they do show up, maybe she's not, her sales is off, her sales pitch is off. Well, when I looked, I realized there were no lights on her phone. So she was on the phone this whole time, but the lights weren't coming on, like different, like red light, green. I looked down, her phone was unplugged the entire time. She was having mythical conversations with prospects in front of, people all around here, saying, set another one, got 2 appointments yet tonight. She wasn't even on the phone. The phone was on. So I'm like,
my gosh.
That's how terrifying the phone is I don't blame her, man. She was scared to be on the phone. But
wow.
I know that's one of those, that's one of those extreme memories I have of how terrifying that era in that first year is for so many advisors, especially back then.
We had a guy that taped our hand to the phone. We couldn't leave. And the only way to get out of it is you had to make the calls.
You know what? It's pretty barbaric, but it's pretty effective, man. We did this thing called power dialing where I would give my friend Tony my leads, and he would actually dial and hand me the phone. And as soon as I was done, you didn't have time to turn it over and write notes on what you talked about and then organize your leads. As soon as the phone was up, he was dialing the next number and handing you the next lead. And you'd do 30 minutes of calling that way. He'd do 30 and I'd do 30. And we would set more appointments in that time than you'd do with 3 or 4 hours on your own, because you're lollygagging, you're getting up and going to the bathroom. Yeah. You're shuffling your leads, putting them in alphabetical order.
Right. Yeah, you're your worst enemy.
Oh, for sure.
Even your own excuse train.
Yeah, and especially if you're a good salesperson. I mean, you can sell yourself on anything.
Right.
Clint, what would you say in the last year or two as you have continued to grow, you guys are growing the practice, you're meeting new clients, you're servicing clients like you do, getting involved in the community. What would you say has been one of your greatest learnings in the past year or two?
I think where there has been bad has brought out good. And I'd say we've had a lot of life experiences, both personally and through work, deaths, health issues, the stuff that happens. And I'd say to summarize all that from, hearing about paralysis of, people to emergency surgeries and sudden heart attacks and obviously death. Really it's to take not to take life for granted and to kind of live every day to the fullest, like it's your last, and be grateful for all of the gifts that God's given us. Because you just really don't know. And I mean, just yesterday, unfortunately, we had two announcements on deaths of good clients. And one was kind of a known, but again, it was a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, very aggressive, nothing we can do, but it's just time. So it was a known thing. Great guy. We'll miss him. And then another one that was an absolute out of the blue, mid 60s, still working. She's a teacher, massive heart attack at home. Husband, she didn't have any signs, didn't have any history, family history. Obviously school's out, so they're on vacation, so to speak. And he went for a quick errand, came back, and she was gone. And those, I guess, life experiences, I would say, have been some of the better, and to your question of the last year, learning lessons about, you gotta not assume that everything's wonderful and that everything is just going to be there. You gotta take it by the hands and just say, okay, I'm going to live in the moment and not count on something tomorrow.
That's so coincidental. My previous guest this morning talked about something very similar, which is being in the present. We had and I know how close you all are to your clients. They become more than just customers and clients. They're not transactional at Latitude 48. They're very relational. So losing a client, I mean, I haven't had to experience that very often. Which in my industry, I coach people for maybe 5 years is about the average length of a client relationship. Yours can be 20, 30 years. So yeah, my heart goes out to the family of your clients who have passed. We had an issue, or not an issue, I'm sorry. We had my son called me on Sunday morning, or texted me. A gentleman, not young, 21-year-old gentleman he goes to college with in his classes, wasn't a really close friend of his, but they were in groups together and studied together and in the same curriculum, construction management. He was this young gentleman by the name of Jackson, was down in Knoxville, Tennessee for the summer, or at least for the weekend, for 4th of July. Had a few too many drinks on the 4th of July. At 2 a.m, he decided to climb a construction fence, climb up to the top of a crane, and then he fell off it. Was dead before they got there. 21 years old. And then I look on Facebook. Yesterday I looked, and I have some mutual friends on Facebook who were related to him because he was from the upper part of Michigan. I didn't know that. And I just saw the pictures of him. He looked like this nice young man. He just made one mistake, and it made me realize. I was hiking yesterday with Jackie, and I said, I can't stop thinking about this young kid, because we all have children, or a lot of us have children. We all have somebody we love who's younger, or, is in college, just got out of college, or is going to go to college, or at least in that age range where you think, or we were all there. How many times did I dodge a bullet of doing something that, that was a little bit stupid and, could have lost my life. So yeah, I agree with you. Live in the present. It's not easy though, is it? It's hard to do.
No, it really is. It really is. And even with kids and, other different experiences you have, you get caught up in sometimes in the moment, and you're not thinking about that as a big picture. And then you think backwards and you kind of regret it, or think, I probably shoulda, woulda, coulda, but you do the best you can. But I think that those are, some of the things that it's just a constant reminder. And that's the good and the bad, I guess, of this job, is that you get to see most of everyone's lives in that collective. And the more people you serve, the more life experiences you witness and get to be a part of, both good and bad. And it's deep and it's hard sometimes, and then it's also honorable and honoring and humbling at times. You know, to be so involved in somebody's life that. The emotional side of this business is a lot. It's become more than I ever thought of, and I don't take it for granted anymore.
Well, I think when you start off in any career, especially in a career that's so relational, like financial planning, I know I only lasted 4.5 years in the industry, so I didn't have, before I went on and started coaching, I was just starting to become somewhat close with my clients. Because it took a few years before. It's very transactional. It seems like at the beginning, especially when you're 23 years old and you need to make money, you're just trying to get clients. And then you don't realize until later that, wait a minute, I actually care about these people. Like I had a client, one of the clients actually wasn't even my client, but it was when I was a training manager in Ann Arbor, Michigan. One of the young ladies, who was like a year younger than I was, or 2 years, but I was her training manager. She brought in an architect out of Ann Arbor, he and his wife. They came in. I sat through all the meetings as her manager because she was brand new. They became clients. And so I got to meet him 3 or 4 times. Well, when I left 2 years later to start my coaching practice in 1996, I left on November 20th, or 19th, actually. On November 20th, the next morning, when I woke up, I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, what? I just quit a major company. I knew I wanted to be a leadership consultant. So he was the first person I called. I called him out of the, I knew his name, but I didn't have his number. So I looked on the Yellow Pages and got him, and we met a week later, and he became a client of mine in coaching. And I coached him for, 17 years, maybe? Clint, so he became a good friend of mine. He met my family. He came to my wedding. He gave me his BMW for a month for a wedding gift to travel wherever I wanted to, a little convertible Z3. This was 23 years ago. But like you realize, and I realize that now in coaching after 29 years, my clients, past and present, they're people I legitimately care about. I told the client this morning on a Microsoft Teams call, I said, look me in the eyes. And he did. I said, I love you. And he said, I love you too. It's weird, cool, man. It's stuff we didn't expect when we were younger.
No, definitely.
Clint, this is a question I like to ask my guests, and it's kind of one of the more prophetic questions. I don't know if it's prophetic, but it's a deeper question. What would you say is one of the most difficult things you have gone through as a man, and what did you do to overcome it and get through it?
I'd say that there are several things I could make mention of. My spleen ruptured when I was 25. I had to do an intervention with my sister, but first I had to intervene my parents first, and then eventually coach my dad to divorce my mom. And then I could say just parenting in general. There's no manual on how to do it, and you've got 2 very different kids. I think anybody that's a parent can probably appreciate and know where I'm coming from with that. But that's an ongoing, most difficult thing you deal with, because every stage of life has been a challenge and different and difficult and sort of fun rolled into one. So those would be like the big things that would come to mind.
Okay. Tell me it's been a long time. My daughter's 38, Ashley. Dawson's, 22, going to be 23 here in a few months. And my bonus sons are all in the 30s now. It's been a while. I've never had 2 young people in my house at the same time. My daughter is 16 years older than my son, and my bonus sons are in the middle. What's it like to have 2 children in your house 4 years apart? And one being female, one being male. That's just got to be. I've never experienced that.
It's just different. It's a good different. It has taught you a lot of life lessons and really good, valuable takeaways about just how to be better. Better as a person, better as a delegator, better as a teacher, better as a coach, better as a co-parent. right, with my wife, how to do things differently and learn more things that you didn't know and force you along the way, whether you liked it or not. As soon as we got really comfortable and felt like we were in a good groove with Landon, obviously then you go backwards in time to the baby stage where you kind of remember some things but don't remember everything. And then again, it's a girl. Okay, I know I was deathly afraid. Like I had sisters, but I wasn't the dad. Right. I don't remember all of the things growing up with all my sisters, stuff. But am I going to be? I know the guy's side. I don't know the girl's side. So that was a thing. And even with Megan, like, yeah, I was a girl, but I don't remember these things. Like, these are different, different times and different experiences and different, stuff. And so, it has been a challenge to like have to relearn and have to rethink and have to do things a little differently. She's more aware of what happens around her. Sometimes my son's a little bit like, oh, I didn't see that bird that's right in front of me kind of thing. And you're like, really? How did you not see that? And she's totally aware of it. He was pretty much good at everything he put his mind to. And Audrey was a little bit more shy and apprehensive of wanting to try something new. And then, my son struggles with, if he's not good at it right away, then he quits. And that also is a struggle for, how you get him to overcome that, when it's like, oh, that's not a big deal. Just give it another try. And it's like, no, I'm done. And you're like, I don't know how to motivate that. Whereas my daughter's like, if she doesn't get it right away, like, she's going to keep going and she's not going to quit until she overcomes it. So they're very different in how they tackle adversity and look at different things. So it's been fun, but it's certainly sometimes a chore and a drain to go through the day-to-day with them.
Well, yeah, but do you think because they are so different, but yet they have a very similar foundation, almost like running a team or a business, you have that same foundation of where you're trying to go as a team and a collective, but yet such different personalities. Do you think being the managing director of Latitude 48 has helped your parenting? And do you think the parenting of Landon and Audrey have helped your directing and leading of Latitude 48? You think they've crisscrossed?
Yes. Yeah. Without a doubt.
And I like when people say that, because so many people try to departmentalize their lives. And, this word balance, and I like the word balance. I really do. But I like the word blend better when you're talking about your personal and professional life, because we learn so much in our professional lives, especially, you dealing with people on a consistent basis, the emotional side of people, serving people, leading people. And so when you have this, you get this skill set that, that you harness when you're in your professional life, and it should carry over to the way you raise your children, and vice versa. The way we raise our children, we learn so much from them, should go over to our professional life and how we lead teams or serve our clients. A lot of people don't like to do that, like to separate completely. And I'm like, dude, there's a wealth of information and wisdom that you have on both sides that would cross over so well and help the other side. So I kind of assume that about you. I have a question.
Well, and it's humbling too, because I would say I'm more wrong than right in this category of, parenting. My wife's way more right than I have been. And it's kind of a trial and tribulation, because you don't know if it's going to work or not.
Yeah, you're right. But it's good to have one person who's more tuned into the parenting. And, I don't know what your parenting style is. I know what your leadership style is pretty well. And that I want to bring that up because, as I mentioned earlier, I think, I've coached, I don't know how many people in 29 years. You are clearly one of the hardest working people I know. You have almost a maniacal focus on your career path and your serving of clients and your building of the business and things of that. Do you think that's your strength, Clint? What would you say what is one outstanding quality that you say, okay, I have all these other ones too, but there's one that shines out that brings you and the team up to the next level?
Yeah, I suppose that's probably an easy top level one. I think it's both good and bad. I'm definitely a driver.
Yeah,
I know that. Sometimes to a fault, and I never seem to stop and say that was great. It's always, oh, I could have done that better, or I should have done more. I don't know where that comes from and why. And sometimes that's what is a strength. And then at the same time, it can also be a major weakness. Is like, dude, do you realize what you've accomplished and done? Mm-hmm. Why is that not good enough? Why can't you stop and celebrate that? And I don't know how to do that. Right.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm, playing basketball with my son and we're shooting free throws and I make 9 out of 10, like 9 out of 10 is pretty damn good. And I'm mad because I didn't get 10 out of 10. Like, and that I was that way in school. Like, they'd give tests and obviously there would be extra credit and I'd always go for the extra credit and I get like 102%. And I was mad that I didn't get 110. Right. Because there was 10 bonus questions and I was able to get 2 of the 10 in the time that they gave it the test, and I got 100%. Obviously that's an A+, and that's amazing. But I didn't feel like that was good enough, right? So that's just the way my mind has always been, and it is hard to not think that way for others, and that also is again a pro and a con.
Yeah. Well, I think it is, but I think it can be a problem, but it's still, you're on the right side of the problem. I mean, I think if you really want to have full achievement in life and full, live your purpose to the highest level, it's better to be a harder worker and to have a difficulty with imperfections than it is just be like, whatever happens, happens. I'm okay with anything. And I mean, it's almost that, are you the thermometer or are you the thermostat? The thermostat dictates the temperature of the room. That's who you are. But you can also be a thermometer and just gauge the room and say, okay, it's, 72 degrees in here. I have to accept what it is. I think it's almost always better to be the thermostat. But sometimes you have to be the thermometer and just say, I'm okay with the temperature right now. I can't do anything about it. I'm just reading the temperature of the room.
Right. So, well, and that's what I think my kids have given me is some of that. Because they're not quite like that. And I've had to internalize it and revisit it and temper expectations or thoughts and be okay with it.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad, but it's not for everybody, and it's not who they are. And I have to, foster and help with making them as good as they want and can be.
It's just so amazing when you do stop like you are and observing your children. I mean, you're raising your children. I have raised mine. And I find it so fascinating when I look back and think, I hope I taught them a lot and still do when I have an opportunity to mentor them or role model for them. But I honestly look back and think, I know it's cliche to say this, but I do believe they taught me as much as I taught them. When they get older, especially, you're like, whoa. Okay, how I did that worked. How I parented here didn't work. So you can kind of take those lessons and go on with your life and say, okay, I'm not going to raise any more children, obviously, but I can use that for my own life. I can say this worked really well. I'm going to use it again in my own life, or this didn't. I got to scrap it type thing.
Agree 100%.
Well,
yeah. I think you can learn something from everybody.
You can. And Clint, that's what I've learned about this podcast is that was the biggest learning I've had is how many people, and literally, I mean every person, and I believe this on every level, every human being on this earth has a story and has wisdom and experience that we can all learn from. Every single person. You can look at the CEO of a company to a person who's homeless, and they're both going to have amazing stories that we can all learn from and take with us to better our lives and better the world. It's just
absolutely.
There's wisdom everywhere. We just have to look for it. We have to open our eyes to it, I should say.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, it's interesting because you between Landon and Audrey, there are 4 years. No, my daughter, my grandson turns 4 here in 2 weeks, July 26th anyway. And they're having their second child in October. So they're going to be about 4 years apart as well. So you're doing that now, and they're about to start that journey of having 2 children 4 years apart.
Yeah, it wasn't by design, but I am so grateful that it happened the way it did.
Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, this question here, I've been curious to hear your answer to this question, and that is, what would you consider, Clint, to be a win in your life, or how do you define success?
Well, I've always seemed to measure my day-to-day wins on goal setting and, setting a mark that, is generally probably too big for many people. And then trying to go after it and then go achieve it. That's been a way that I would say, what's a win in my life? But I think big picture wise, as I look forward, I'd say that the one thing would be just the general friends, family, to be loved, for them to want to be around me, and knowing that they believe or see me as the one that's always helping them be the best they can be. That's one level. I think another level would be, my kids growing up to be successful in whatever they end up doing. And maybe and hopefully eventually hearing from other, grandparents that are around a table, whether it's the wedding or, some random thing that, we're visiting from town and I'm in their town and they know them and they just talk and gush about how great my son, daughter is and how we should be so proud. I think that would be a big win for me. Just I had the great fortune of being like a master of ceremonies at a client's funeral.
Okay.
And it made me realize how much of a difference we make in people's lives every day as financial advisors and, dinner and stuff. The family now ask all as do not say, ask me to be that person. And the guy that's a decorated Navy submariner, huge rotation in the community, easily one of my most favorite people. And just the number of people that came to celebrate him, letters, stories I got to read out loud.
Hey, Clint, can I interrupt you for a minute? It's real garbly for some reason. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I'm still talking the same way I have been.
Yeah, it's a little garbly. I don't know. Your cough seemed like it was clear. Can you say something? I'll just see if it's...
Yeah, just, I don't know.
You're back again.
What else?
I hear you.
Okay.
Yep, hear you great.
Okay.
So I just kind of lost yet, the kind of the friendship part and the clients, and it kind of started garbling off there. You're the MC of a client's funeral. That's where we lost you.
Okay. So, he just being able to hear all these people and see all these people that came to the celebration, be able to, read out loud the letters and stories about him and his life, and, see all the generations of the connections he had and the people he influenced. All the things that he did behind the scenes, because he was kind of the guy that would take credit for anything, just kind of do it and keep on. Just kind of the profound impact that he had on so many people. It was just so inspiring. And I think, a win, if you will, for me would be however I get checked out of this life, if I could be a fly on the wall and be celebrated and remotely close to how he was, just to know the profound difference we made in people's lives, the positive impacts that I made. To me, that would be a massive win in my book of life.
Do you think that when you started this journey of being an advisor 19, 20 years ago, you thought that would be where you are now? Not just the success, but I mean, as far as the commitment, the loyalty and connection you have with your clients. Would you have thought that 20 years ago?
No, no way.
No,
it was a job, not a career.
Yeah. Now, I know you have a pretty good team around you. I've had a chance to get to know almost everybody on your team. How has that, managing the team, how has that team help you build and help each other build that relationship with clients? What is there that about you that kind of has that, you have a kind of a magical dust when you're all together? What is that?
I think it's to try not to make it a silo, that everybody has a hand in the connection with the person. One person's in charge of greeting and appointment setting and filing paperwork and follow up, and somebody else is, giving updates. Somebody else is doing, random other things. So it's not just the one man band. So you're sharing in the walking of through life with each person. I think that is a piece of that success, or that secret sauce, if you will. I think always celebrating, the victories of the positives that we've made impacts on life, helps to want to have another outcome similar to that with somebody else. And that is probably, and I would assume, a driver for however the rest of the team, thinks and operates and is a motivator for them, is because it makes you feel good.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely working. And of all the people, all the teams I've worked with over the years, you guys were just fun to work with. And
that's good.
I was thinking of how many places I lived while I was with you guys. I lived in East Grand Rapids twice. I lived in Grand Rapids, the city. Then I moved to the Upper Peninsula. So I've lived in, I think, 4 different places while working with you guys. I remember doing calls with you guys while I was walking around my yard in East Grand Rapids in the summertime. When I would set my garage up to be my office because I just wanted to move around, and I had a big space in there and I had my computer and client files I'd bring in during the day, and it was always fun working with you guys. And I know Bim just recently retired.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I've texted him a couple of times. So a little shout out to Bim Prince out there. Please enjoy your time that you have earned to spend time with family and friends, and enjoy your hobbies out there and your passions.
Indeed.
Yeah. How long was he in the industry? He wasn't there, but he was a teacher for a while, wasn't he?
Yes. He started in 1999. So he would be almost 26 years.
Almost 26
somewhere
years.
In that range.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you guys are neighbors, aren't you? Or pretty close to each other?
Yeah, I can throw a stone at him. I'm up the hill, thankfully.
Well, don't throw any stones at him. No, you guys have a really neat team, really very personable, very likable, very respected, very experienced team. That's one thing I really respected about working with you guys, is just, it was always fun. There were always great conversations. Everybody was highly open-minded. And just good people. I mean, just really, really good people. So, and that's why I'm still in a group text with all you guys.
There you go. I know it. I thought, keep it going.
Yeah, I love it. I love sometimes you'll say, "Hey, the event tonight we're going to be starting at 5:00." Like when you guys have a client event or something. I feel like I'm still part of the family.
Still part of the family. Well, I mean, we spend more time with each other than we do probably our significant other, wife, husband, and or kids.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to need to like each other and enjoy the time with each other. And so we've always tried to be purposeful with sprinkling in fun and engagement and, wanting to be around each other, because we've spent a lot of time with each other.
Yeah, you sure do. And I see new babies coming into the Latitude 48 family. And
yes,
that's pretty cool.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys have a good thing going there.
Hopefully more to come.
Yeah, for sure. All right, this is my favorite question, Clint. Now, this is assuming I have a time machine. I'm going to fly out to Kingston, Washington today, and we're going to get in it, you and I. You're going to go back to some former time when you were younger. I'm going to go as a passenger and as a note taker. And you're going to sit down with your former self on a park bench somewhere, and you're simply going to give yourself words of wisdom, recipes for success, life advice. What would you say to the younger Clint Boxman?
I'd say don't be afraid of what you don't know. You can always do more. And whatever you think you can do, you can always do more. And that might be, working just a little bit harder or pushing you to the extreme of uncomfortable. And just know that not only can you do that more of whatever it was, but it'll be more than worth it. And you'll be happy with the result just if you give it a try.
It's so cool that so many people, when I ask that question, the word afraid or fear comes in. Like I think when we were younger, and we still do. If you can, I think I'm going to put a question in here down the road. In 20 years from now, what would you come back and tell your current self? And I still think we'd say, don't be afraid. I think we live with so much unconscious, subconscious, irrational fears. And I love that you put in there, you can always do more. And it's so powerful when you think of, if you make one more sales call at the end of the day, or call one more client to just talk to them, or throw one more baseball with your kid, or give your wife or husband a kiss one more time before you go to work. It's one more of every little thing that we do that makes all the difference. It's not exactly crazy exponential things that we do. It's little things. I just started a book, I think 2 days ago. Called Tiny Habits by Dr. B.J. Fogg, kind of a strange name. It's all literally about small, little, tiny things that we do are what make the difference. There's a book by that I really love, Ed Milet. I think he's got an amazing podcast. He's a multimillionaire that did this podcast and wrote this book later in life called The Power of One More. In fact, I'm looking at it at my bookshelf right now. The same thing. It's, success isn't defined by doing something grand every week or every day or every year, even every decade. It's about doing little things more and better every single day. Just 1% improvements, If you can improve yourself 1% on whatever your focus and whatever your most important things are, 1% change every day. At the end of the year, you'll be almost 37 times better at what you do. That's incredibly insane. Well, you get it because you understand the power of compound interest. I mean, when you invest money. So
absolutely,
you get the team is growing. I know how many do you have on at Latitude 48 right now?
We're up to 9 now.
9. That's amazing. And so next, as you grow this, and as the kids you're going to have 2 teenagers here in a couple of years. What's next for you? Like, what's your next focus?
I'm that typical person that probably doesn't spend enough time on myself doing the things that I do every day for others. So when you ask that, that's one of those, like, I haven't really done a lot of good planning for me and or what is next. I see myself still just continuing to be in this role for at least the foreseeable future, helping clients on their journey and being a part of the team. But I do enjoy the whole community volunteer aspect of things, being able to give back and do more on things that we might need, whether that's in the schools or with kids and youth or coaching or, do some type of financial assistance for the various amenities of needs or projects that we have going around town or in our community. I love coaching. I don't know if that love of coaching is just because of my kids or of just the whole, what I get out of coaching. So that maybe is part of it. I would hope that traveling, I do enjoy traveling. There's so many places in the world I want to go see. I'd love to just sell the house and store stuff and just be gone and just travel and just see the world. So I think that if I was really forced to start planning for myself, it'd be of some capacity those items.
Okay. Does she want to travel too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest part is that we're a part of that, I'd call it sandwich generation, is we still have the parents. They're not nearly in that place of where we have to add or do a lot of things for them, but we know that someday that's coming. And then obviously our kids. And so the focus is not likely on going away or being away because we're obviously needed to be here, but at some point, yeah, she loves traveling just as much as I do. So,
oh, that's great. Well, I think, you look at the coaching, I think when there are people who have the life experience that you have, especially in the professional world, it would be a waste not to coach. And not that if you're coaching sports, you're not coaching financial services or leadership, but all that, it just, that does come into play. And it's just what we teach in sports is the stuff we've learned through our lives, not just in sports, but also in raising kids or leading a team or serving clients. So it would really be a waste if you didn't keep coaching in some capacity.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you. I coached lacrosse for almost 5 years when my son was little. I was so happy to give that up. I was so happy to
It's not for everybody.
No. I loved coaching the games, but I didn't know lacrosse. I didn't know X's and O's. I just knew I was the head coach for 2.5 years, I think, or 2 years, and assistant coach the other years. And when I was the last 2 years when I was head coach, I'm just kind of the guy who's going to teach them life lessons. And I had to bring thankfully my bonus son, my oldest stepson, played in high school and college and coached who's a head coach at the high school level after this. And I brought him in as my assistant coach one year, and he basically ran everything. I was the motivational guy. I taught him 3 things. It was always give your best out there, show respect to everybody on the field, and have fun. If you do those things, you're going to play. If you don't, you're not going to play. And that's what I kept him. I kept that saying, do your best, show respect, have fun. I drilled that into him. So, but I was glad when it was done. I loved watching my son. I loved being a part of his life, in sports, those 4 or 5 years, but I was ready.
Depending on where the stage they are.
Yeah.
Those are the most important qualities that are there. Early on, it was like, I want them to come away with an advancement of whatever they were doing, whether that was soccer or baseball or basketball or what, all the different sports I've coached. But my goal was they want to play next year.
Right.
And that was kind of, you asked the question of that was a win. I mean, that was a win for me where I didn't have them want to not be a part of whatever the sport was or play organized, whatever. I wanted them to be back and want to do it next year or be mad that the season was over.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was an end goal to, like you said, just give me your best and be respectful. And more importantly, let's go have some fun. And I think if and when we did that, every kid wanted to be back, and they were. And that was also more fun for me as the coach because it was all these same kids. And then they were just a year older and they had more experience and or more talent and or there were different skills that I could help hone and make better. And then when we got 1 or 2 other newer kids to the team, it allowed me to focus more time on them versus the others because I knew where they were and what their strengths and weaknesses were, and it just made my job better and easier. And so it was, I don't know, having Landon now in high school, believe it or not. I've been coaching him since he was 5, and so I've had close to 10 years of basketball coaching, and I've had almost the same 5 or 6 kids every single year. And seeing them, how they've grown and developed, it's been awesome. And I'm semi-sad to see my stage, at least for now, with them mostly done. We'll see if there's other opportunities down the road for different things that I could help them with. But it's been a really cool journey, and I just can't not do that with Audrey now.
Right. That's one thing I never did. I never was able to. My daughter played a lot of sports, but when she was in sports, I was living in Detroit or Ann Arbor or Grand Rapids, Michigan, and she was 4 hours away. So I wasn't able to be as involved with her sports when she was younger. I watched a lot of meets, and she actually played rugby in college for, I think, a year and a half. And I was able to go to a lot of her games because she went to Grand Valley State University, which was in Grand Rapids. So I got to see some of her games when she got to the college level. But my son has been playing lacrosse for 3 years, and I haven't seen one game yet. I've seen scrimmages because all their games are travel. Like they're in
Right.
they're in Madison, Wisconsin, or they're somewhere else. And literally, there were two times I had plans. Like I'll be there. I'm leaving early Saturday morning. I was going to Madison, Wisconsin. They were playing at the University of Wisconsin, and both days there was a blizzard. That one time they had to cancel the tournament. The second time the team traveled and went literally right by my house. I could see them travel by my house, but I said, I'm not driving in this stuff. No way. So I watched it on TV instead. I got to watch it on TV and have a couple of beers at my house and watch them play. But before I ask the last question, I want to thank Megan, Landon, and Audrey for lending me you out for an hour or so with me. So I got to shout out to them. And I also just want to shout out to the team that you have, because, from Bim, who's now retired, to Braden and Ryan and Jordan and Mel and Steph. And I know you have Brennan now. I haven't got a chance to meet him yet, but I just want to give them a shout out and say what an honor it is to know all of you. And I think you have more people on there now, don't you?
Yeah, Carson is in the midst of, he's taking his Series 7 next week. So we're excited to have him, be a part of the team. And then Shelby is somebody that we just hired to help alleviate some of the load that Steph and Mel and sort of Jordan on the administrative side have done. And we can't be thrilled to see that expand. And what they bring to the team is awesome. So we're excited.
Well, Carson and Shelby, congratulations, because you've joined one hell of a good team. So, and just tell everybody I said hi, will you, when you get off today?
I will.
Tell them all I said hello. And for my last question, I like to call this kind of, Clint, a net question. It's a net that catches anything I miss. Is there any question I didn't ask that you wish I would have? Or is there any final message you'd like to leave with that Bamboo Lab audience member out there who's just looking for some thoughts?
Well, I'd say, you've coached us and my team over the years, and all of your podcasts are about other people, but nobody focuses on you. So I would say, what drives you, what motivates you, and kind of flip the script on you.
You asking me this question?
I'm asking you.
Hey,
Brian.
You could have warned me on this one. I'm not good at thinking on my feet, man.
You said it was a surprise, so here you are.
It's interesting. We did actually last week record the 150th episode of the podcast, and I had Dave Dick, my friend, come on, and he interviewed me for an hour and 15 minutes or so. But I like what you asked. I think what motivates me, honestly, Clint, now more than ever, and there probably always has been a motivator for me, but as of the last 4 years, I would say more and more, probably because I became an empty nester 4 years ago this summer. It's really what my children and grandchildren think of me. Like I have this little in my office, a little plant, and I have this little rock that looks over it, and it's a painted rock, and it's hanging over the edge of the thing. It's probably made out of clay, and it's got these little eyes on it. And I think about that as whenever I look at that and I see these eyes looking at me, I think of my children and grandchildren looking at me, and am I doing what's best for our family? Like, am I serving my clients the right way? Am I honoring my family by how I bring on clients, how I coach them, how I serve them, even doing the podcast? So really what motivates me is I want to make sure that over my life, my children and grandchildren and great-great-children, grandchildren, and beyond my legacy, they can look back and say, he was a man I could role model my life after. And that's really been a big motivator for me over the last 3 to probably 4 years now. And I have to correlate that with the fact that I became an empty nester. So now my parenting has become so much more important to me because I don't have the day-to-day parenting that I did before. So I've realized how much I miss that day-to-day parenting. So I think that's a major motivator for me.
That's a pretty good one.
Dude, thanks for throwing a surprise question at me. I don't want any other guest to get that impression that you can just do that now. Only you can pull that off, Clint.
Oh.
No,
well,
man,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you so much. And, I do miss all you guys, but it's so good to be still part of the Latitude 48 family. But again, I know what you guys are accomplishing. And as soon as, when I met you 6, 7 years ago, there was no doubt you guys were successful then. There was no doubt. But the level you guys have gone to as of late and the accolades that you guys have got, best in the state team, best in state advisor, Forbes magazine, blah, blah, blah. So many amazing accolades you've gotten. They're all well deserved. They're all very well earned. And I just don't see this train stopping anytime soon. I see this Latitude 48 just continue to make the impact that it does on the clients that you serve as well as the communities you guys live in. So congratulations on that, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. And thank you for being such an amazing guest on the Bamboo Lab podcast, Clint.
Honored to be here. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Folks, now I know when talking to Clint, it's just like he and I on the phone over the past several years. He's very articulate, very concise. There's not a lot of words that don't mean something when Clint talks. There's not a lot of filler. So I would recommend go back through this episode, listen to it twice. First time, do it while you're walking, hiking, running on your treadmill, driving home, whatever, cleaning your house. Second time, grab a pad of paper and sit down and take notes. Because this is a team, Latitude 48, that is one of the most successful I've ever worked with and one of the best overall. They're doing something really well. And a lot of what I see when you look at them, they just outwork people. They're not just a bunch of grinders who go out there and just work to work. They work to, and I heard this quote earlier today, being efficient to be effective. And they work on efficiency so they can be effective. So they can be effective serving their clients, serving their community, and growing the practice and the business and the team. So a lot of words of wisdom here. Please listen to it twice. Please rate and review the podcast. Smash that like button if you haven't yet. And please share this with 3 to 5 people. Just copy the podcast or share it on your email, however you do it, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you listen to. Just use that share button. Give it to 3 to 5 people so they can learn the secrets and some of the wisdom and experience of Clint Boxman. Everybody, I appreciate you all so very much. I'll be back here talking in your ear in 1 week from today, same time, same place. But in the meantime, please get out there and strive to give and be your best. Show love and respect to others and turn that back and show it to yourself as well. And by all means, live with intention and purpose. I appreciate each and every single one of you.